Second row of the grid, Evan Belford and Bailey Stewart-Campbell. Row 3, Ollie Walker and Emmanuel Brinton. Row 4, Declan Connell and Taylor Stewart-Campbell. And rounding out the top 10 on the grid, Josh Bannister and Mason Foster.
And we do have one rider who's pulled off turn number 6. The marshals are bringing their bike over to the grid. Are they going to try and restart that, or is that going to be a retirement?
Is that Emmanuel Brinton?
It could well be, you know.
Looks as though we're missing Emmanuel Brinton up at the start line, so...
a convenient gap and a conveniently missing bike. Let's put 2 and 2 together, shall we? But we'll find out. They're just walking up to the grid now anyway, so we'll have a look. But it's a shame if it isn't for Brinton, because again, it'd be great to see him in the race enjoying another one out there in today's conditions.
It certainly is Emmanuel Brinton. These mini bikes also have mini numbers, but when they get right in front of your face, you can see the number. It's a number 93. So he is making his way away from the circuit. Now the rest of the pack is going to do a warm-up lap. Whether that gives him time to sort himself out remains to be seen. Dan has nipped out of the commentary box to see if he can grab a line for us. In the meanwhile, the riders are up and running on this warm-up lap, the precursor to the race number 2 in the junior LC40 category. Casey O'Gorman and Ross Maguire, then, remember, are the 2 main rivals for this race, and then we'd expect a separate battle over third position. And thanks for the info there. Emmanuel Brinton comes charging out of the pit lane, as Dan has quite rightly ascertained, and he is trying to get back onto the tail of the pack so that he can claim his position on the grid. Emmanuel Brinton due to line up in P6 alongside Ollie Walker. Well, have you got your breath back from that little jog then yet, Dan?
Not quite, but yeah, he has rejoined and he's up to pace back on the circuit now, so it does look like hopefully he'll be able to rejoin, maybe just at the back of the grid, but even then that's better than not taking the start at all. One of the marshals brought it back into the pit area with one of the mechanics. They started it, put him back on the bike, got him out there, so as he makes his way up to the grid, hopefully he'll be able to retake his position.
As far as I understand, he should be able to do so. He's being called in to P6, so Emmanuel Brinton in place, and we will be ready to go. Remember, Brinton had a DNF first time out in race 1 in this junior LC40 category, so he'll be looking to score decent points this time from P6 as the support moves away off the grid, as does the marshal, and the riders watch for the light. So Gorman and Maguire, the ones to watch on the front row, and a separate battle you'd expect for third. Belford versus Stewart-Campbell getting underway. Fast up from pole position from Casey O'Gorman, who gets there first. Ross Maguire dropping back off the line. Bailey Stewart-Campbell and Evan Belford also involved in that 4-rider pack. Second and third places, closest for the moment at least. But what a fine start that was from Casey O'Gorman to hit the front.
And it is a clean start, which is what we like to see. Much better than yesterday when we had 2 retirements on the first lap or so. So as they make their way through turn 6 for the first time, no one's really... Well, the leader's got a couple of bike links, but no one's really making a good go at getting away from everyone. They're just close enough in order to make it challenging for each other.
Ross Maguire hasn't had the type of start that he would have liked, and is coming under pressure now further down the order, and that's enabling Casey O'Gorman, as you said, to pick up a couple of bike lengths. It might not be a lot on the opening lap, but once O'Gorman gets to the front, he rarely loses that type of position. It's Casey O'Gorman who's going to lead us then at the end of lap 1, ahead of Evan Belford and Bailey Stewart-Campbell. As I called it, Ross Maguire's dropped to 4th, but it looks more as though he's dropping back as opposed to closing in on the riders up ahead. Ollie Walker had a good couple of nibbles in the latter stages of that lap number 1 on the tail of Ross Maguire. Maguire starting to pick up some rhythm now. We could have a pretty entertaining battle on our hands here over what looks like a net second place behind Casey O'Gorman. The fight between Evan Belford, Bailey Stewart-Campbell and Ross Maguire. Maguire getting a good run there onto the infield section as he tries to recover positions, and it looks as though he's done so. No, not quite. Almost getting alongside down the inside line through the infield section. Maguire held at bay for the moment in P4.
Well, that's the thing with the LC40 racing, is that you've got to be a bit more patient sometimes and bide your time, because if you make one mistake, you can lose so much time and so much position. It just isn't worth risking it, which is why even in this 8-lap race, of which we're on lap 2 at the moment, it's better to just bide your time a little bit and then make the position when you know it can stick.
O'Gorman 1.5 seconds clear at the end of lap 2, 55.6 compared to a 56.2 for the next fastest in terms of outright pace, which was Bailey Stewart-Campbell, who's having to push on here because Ross Maguire is closing all the time and had a couple of goes down the inside through the infield section last lap around. Again, a great run on that first right-hander that brings them onto the infield section, but he can't make anything stick, and he's stuck in exactly the same place he was last lap, hemmed in around the tight and twisty complex on the infield as you alluded to earlier. It's much tougher to find a way through there, and at the moment we've got a pack of 3 riders, and it seems as though Evan Belford is holding up the pace slightly of Bailey Stewart-Campbell and Ross Maguire, keeping Ollie Walker in with them as well.
All I was about to say was touch wood anyway, because you never know with this kind of racing. Going through turn number 2, of course, quite evenly matched, but as they run up the hill, it looks like Stewart-Campbell's going to get a very good run. They almost go side by side. They did ever so briefly. Maguire really trying to benefit from this again as well, but still 3 for second place coming through and up towards a hairpin at turn 6.
Belford, Stewart-Campbell and Maguire, and you're quite right, as Stewart-Campbell had a go at Belford, Ross Maguire tried to take advantage and capitalise to come through for third. That's the turn, that right-hander on the entrance to the infield section where Maguire has such an overspeed compared to the 2 riders ahead, but there's just no way for him to take advantage of it, because if he gets down the inside through that turn, he'll be stuck on the outside for the next one, and that's the challenge he's faced with at the moment through that infield section, where he is the fastest of this trio. For the rest of the lap, he's hemmed in down in 4th position, but less than 0.3 of a second separating riders from 2nd to 4th places, all enabling Casey O'Gorman to pull clear out in front as Maguire goes on the attack once again, less than 1/10 of a second behind Bailey Stewart-Campbell, who occupies 3rd place. Evan Belford up in P2, well adrift now of Casey O'Gorman.
And Maguire just having a brief look up the inside coming into Christmas Corner, turn 3. It's a half distance, 2.5 seconds. Casey O'Gorman's got to the good of Evan Belford. The second place battle, again, as we saw earlier on in a couple of races, battling away so hard, you're losing a bit of time. But again, also the battle for 3rd place, looking fantastic as ever. We've got someone running a little bit deep at turn number 7 and 8. That's not caused too much issue, but yeah, traffic not as bad in this one at the moment, but we get a little bit deeper into the race. It's 8-lap race, it could well be one.
Spot on, the first of the lapped runners being dispatched, but actually fair play, moving right out of the way to enable the race leaders to continue their march through as Maguire gets a good run off the final turn, can't get alongside. Stuck in the same position, closer and closer to Bailey Stewart-Campbell, but no way through for the moment at least. We have a game of chess, as you would have described it earlier on for us, Dan, here, where Ross Maguire has not really had an opportunity to pass so far. Thinks about a lunge through the switchback there at the far end of the circuit, trying to get the better of Bailey Stewart-Campbell. This is the turn where he's been faster than him, and he drills a move down the inside. Maguire coming charging through, the first overtaking manoeuvre of the race, as Ross Maguire gets the better of Bailey Stewart-Campbell to come through for 3rd position.
And of course this is all helping Ollie Walker catch up to this little group as well, so it's becoming a bigger battle by the lap really. Just, well, 3 laps left to go, so it could all change yet, but that was a great signal of intent for Ross Maguire. Next candidate really, Evan Belford.
Ollie Walker was the fastest of that quartet on lap number 5. As you quite rightly say, these 3 knocking spots off one another, and Walker has spent the entire race distance half a second behind them, trying to stay on their coattails. At the moment it's Ross Maguire who's on the march, but here comes Bailey Stewart-Campbell back at him down the inside at the far end of the circuit. The switchback is where Maguire made ground last lap around to then go off in pursuit of an inside move. Can he do the same again, this time on Evan Belford? The answer is no. Belford is further ahead on this lap than Bailey Stewart-Campbell was last lap. Stewart-Campbell going for a lunge down the inside now of Maguire as they come through the infield section. It's that same situation. Maguire is the meat in the sandwich, and if he goes diving down the inside or doing something extra special on the case of Evan Belford, he's going to leave himself exposed to Bailey Stewart-Campbell. Still nothing in it from 2nd to 4th positions, but it is Maguire who is clearly the fastest of this quartet at the moment as they come in towards the final lap. It's O'Gorman leading, 2.5 seconds clear. He's backed off his pace in recent laps. He's up ahead of Evan Belford, Ross Maguire and Bailey Stewart-Campbell flashing over the start-finish line altogether. Less than 3/10 of a second separating them. Maguire is now on the march as they come over towards the far side of the circuit.
Up to Christmas Bend for the final time. It almost looked like, again, like Maguire was letting Stewart-Campbell have a look at the inside. Just the outside line going into the right-hander seems to be a much better one. Through to the hairpin at turn 6, a late move potentially up the inside. Not quite for Ross Maguire. They're barely giving each other inches as they come through. The two left-handers for the first time. Stewart-Campbell having a look at the inside. That's not really giving him much position. It's still then the battle for second, which is going to be the closest. Out of turn 8 and turn 9. He has to look left as Maguire. There's not much space for it, but I doubt it. Not a lot of room to overtake now.
Coming in towards the final sequence of turns then with Maguire looking for a move on the tail of Evan Belford. Drag race down to the line. O'Gorman's won it, but second position goes the way of Evan Belford. Great riding there from Ross Maguire. It was a super pass on Bailey Stewart-Campbell, but he could make no further impression on the top two positions in the closing 3 laps after dispatching Bailey Stewart-Campbell, who ends up finishing in 3rd place. So the top 3 in the championship standings are in the top 4 in the race there. O'Gorman, the series leader, takes the checkered flag, clearing the end of Evan Belford, who sits in second position in the race, gaining yet more ground in the series standings overall after a good runner-up position in race number 1 as well. Maguire and Bailey Stewart-Campbell in 3rd and 4th positions. Ollie Walker, credit to him, staying with the pack ahead of him in 5th position. Declan Connell, Emmanuel Brinton, who eventually got the bike going, Johnny Garnis, Josh Bannister and Taylor Lawrence rounding out the top 10.
Thank you very much, Alex Raby and Dan Marr commentating on what was another brilliant LC40 junior race. Casey O'Gorman, congratulations to him. And we've been enjoying some fantastic racing so far today, this morning here at Whilton Mill. It's round 6 of the 2017 FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship.
This is FAB-Racing. Live coverage all season on the FAB-Racing Facebook page and on the website coolfabracing.com.
From Whilton Mill, round 6 of the 2017 FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championship.
Yeah, it certainly is, Dan Marr. Thank you very much, and a big hello once again to all the viewers watching our live visual radio stream as well. And it's weird to kind of say that because even though we are doing radio and we're here at the track and we that's what we do, live radio stream, you can actually watch it with a lovely modest view of the timing screen and listen to the dulcet tones of Mr. Dan Marr and Alex Raby. So out on track next, it is the first race of the day, race number 2 of the weekend for the Pit Bike 140 and Moto team, and they're about to head out onto the grid, and it will be Brad Ray starting on pole.
And as always, we have fun with the Pit Bike 140 and Moto team race because it's our split grid. There are 2 classes in one race. The riders involved in 2 separate championships. Interestingly though, the top 2 on the grid aren't really involved in any championship at the moment because Brad Ray and Blake Ansell making irregular appearances in 2017, and the respective series leaders are Jamie King in the Pit Bike 140s and Darren Anderson in the Moto team class. So the second row of the grid behind Brad Ray and Blake Ansell. James Blackburn on the 132 bike, currently second in the Pit Bike 140 series standings behind Jamie King, who lines up alongside him on that second row. The third row of the grid, Mark Evans, who did a good job in the Pit Bike 140 category with 13 points in race 1, and Will Howarth, who picked up the race win in the Moto team class, who sits second in the Moto team championship standings. 30 points adrift of Darren Anderson after making up 5 in race number 1. Fourth row of the grid, Alex Vella, who's been involved in several of the battles this season, the outright winner at round number 4 earlier on in this campaign on the 621 machine. Alongside him, Sam Klaus, who scored 11 points in the Pit Bike 140's first time out. And rounding out the top 10 on the grid, the Moto Team Championship leader Darren Anderson, who finished runner-up in class first time out, and Sean Whittaker, who lines up in 10th. Other riders to watch out for further down the order, Ben Pascoe lines up in 11th position. He's third in the Pit Bike 140 Championship. Fraser Kinnaird, who's third in the Moto Team Championship, he lines up 14th. Simon Clowes did a great job to come through into the top positions in Moto Team first time out. He lines up all the way down in 16th position, and Neil Kinnaird behind him, who got the better of him for 4th position. position in race number 1. Have you remembered all of the riders I just talked about? Ray and Ansel, as a reminder, off the front row of the grid. Blackburn and King, the top 2 in the pit bike 140 class, starting off the second row.
Well, we're expecting them there anyway. Well, we're just waiting for them to come and join up to the grid. It is a rather large field, almost 30 bikes for this one, so it does take a little bit of time to assemble. But as they do get underway, of course, it's been a fantastic race yesterday between Blake Ansell and Brad Ray, of course, Ray of BSB and other such racing fame. It was a great display from them. Fantastic battling. Traffic got interfered with that gap and that race a little bit yesterday, but nonetheless, today's race is going to be another cracker, I do believe, for the PB140s and Moto teams. Just as a reminder then, after this we have the Mini GP 70 second race of the day, the PB Opens, the AC40 Pros, and then the Sidecars to round off our action before the lunch break as we go on to the Green Flag Lab.
Well, neither Brad Ray nor Blake Ansell taking to the start here, and Alex Vella, who is joining up or due to line up off P7, also missing off the start line. So although it is a really packed grid, we have lost 3 of that 30 before getting underway. Still, in the context of the championship, that makes things even spicier, if anything, because it means that the net top 2, 3rd and 4th on the grid, but 1st and 2nd in actual fact, are the 2 championship leaders in pit bike 140. So that gives them an opportunity to go head to head, both for the race and indeed for the championship. Just watching, 27 riders did indeed pass the timing beam on that first cycle lap. So indeed that correlates with what I've just said, that we are 3 riders down in terms of those taking to the start for this pit bike 140 and Moto team race number 2.
Well, it makes everything a little bit more interesting, as you say, Alex, but a little bit confusing if you're sat here spectating trackside with a whole row free, basically.
Well, why not? We're giving them a running start. There you go.
Yeah, well, it's a bit weird, isn't it, seeing an entire row unoccupied? Must be like the... Wow. Well, we've been...
James Blackburn then in 3rd on the grid. Jamie King alongside 4th on the grid. Net 1st and 2nd. Mark Evans and Will Howarth directly behind, 3rd row. Sam Klaus in 8th position, watch for him. Darren Anderson, the championship leader in the Moto team, all the way down in 9th on the grid on the 133 machine on the inside of the grid. A little bit of creeping there from Will Howarth, but it hasn't worked out in his favour. He ends up dropping back a place as they come down to the first turn. And it is, as speculated, Jamie King and James Blackburn, who were the net front row riders, effectively, who got away well. Mark Evans is the rider who started alongside Will Howarth, and while Howarth was creeping, the lights went out, and Evans was the one to move instead of Howarth, who ends up dropping back. And we've got a faller, and that's taken 2 riders out, and quite a heavy fall as well. Will Howarth caught up in that by the looks of it, as well as Sam Klaus, who I believe, from a distance here in race control, look to have been the 2 riders to have come down, as the red flags bring a halt to the race, with Jamie King and James Blackburn out in front at the time of the stoppage. Will Howarth has got the machine back going again, but the initial prognosis, obviously, with Howarth straight back up to his feet, Sam Klaus having come down as well. The red flags are out, 2 riders up to their feet already, which is good to see, but for the moment the race is curtailed with a red flag, Lester.
And we will get some news as to when this race will get back underway very, very shortly, and of course we will keep you up to date with the how everybody is, and fingers crossed everybody will be okay. This is Cool Fab Racing. This is a live stream. And we are live from Whilton Mill. Did I mention we're live? And you can get in touch with us. It's at Cool Fab Racing on Twitter. We are logged in right now and able to receive and read your messages. We are Cool Fab Racing on Facebook, and also we're streaming this live on motorsport.com. radio as well on the website and on the motorsport.radio Facebook page as well. We're simulcasting to lots of different places for maximum exposure. So if you're here at the track supporting a rider or a team, then let us know who and which one, and if you have any nice messages for them, we will read them out as long as they're clean. That's all we can say. So an interesting one, perhaps, maybe a little mission for Dan Marr, who I know is just poised and ready to proceed commentating once again, but it'd be interesting to go and maybe have a quick chat if he's around, and he may be, to go and try and find Brad Ray to find out where he is. Yeah,
that is a mission. Okay,
if you're able to undertake such things with the because unusually so here we don't usually have such a mobile microphone, but here at Whilton Mill, thanks to the facilities at Whilton Mill, we do. So, we can actually go for a little wander about and go and grab some riders and ask them how their race went. So that's a little challenge for you, Dan.
Mobile Mike and Mobile Mar. Okay, let's go on my merry way. Go and see if we can find anyone interesting.
Or on your Mari way.
On his Mari way. Yes.
So as I'm walking out the commentary box and leaving that bad pun in there, let's go and have a look for Brad Ray, because everyone's assembled in the pits at the moment. Obviously red flag conditions at the moment, going for a hunt, so I'll leave it you two for now, and then
Would
I'll
you
get
like
back
some
to when I find
initial
anything
guidance as to
interesting.
where he may be? Because I don't know if you're walking in the right direction, Dan. I'm not too sure.
I think I've found him. We've got a couple of people coming back in. Quick word, Brad. Where were you on the first start?
Well, I was at the back of the grid. Oh, what one?
We was going to say for this one, we couldn't see neither of the top two guys in front there, so...
Yeah, we started at the back of the grid, just thought it'd be a bit interesting, but we're going to do the same in the next one.
So you're going to start at the front this time?
No, I start at the back.
Well, best of luck, Brad. Hopefully it goes interesting. Nice field for you to go through.
Yeah, it's good fun, and it's just makes it a bit more interesting, doesn't it?
And what do you think? I think we might be getting underway in a second. Just how are you enjoying this weekend, the atmosphere at Cool Fab?
Yeah, it's good fun. It's nice. We can just chill out, have a bit of fun on the pit bikes, and get back to the serious stuff next week.
Well, we know what happens to Aussie, so just be careful out there.
Try to.
Well, best of luck. Thanks, Brad. Well, there we go. We managed to find him. He is at the back of the grid, as we suspected.
Well, I did think, Dan, maybe, I mean, he's been known to do it before on the perhaps the mini motos, to actually just start at the back, just because, as he said, it's a bit of fun for him anyway, and that's exactly what he was doing and what he will be doing here. So that's the big question, really. All eyes, if you're here at the track, will be on Brad Ray. We want to see if he can
from 30th to 1st. Who can hope?
Can he do it? That's the big question. Alex, do you pin your hopes on maybe Brad scything his way through the field?
I pin my hopes on Dan watching out for Brad scything his way through the field while I'm trying to keep a track on what's going on up the front. It's not a bad thing having someone alongside me up here in our commentary position. But did you see how I nicely swerved away from making any predictions to maintain my lack of bias? Brad Ray will be aiming to come through the field, and we'll see how swiftly he can indeed make his way through.
He is used to the pressure, though, isn't he? Yeah, he's definitely used to the added pressure of being in the top flight of British motorcycle racing. So, I'm sure he won't mind us saying as such. Though, pressure's on, Brad.
Fantastic extra insight given to us by having Dan up here, able to nip down and go and have a chat with some of the riders, and going off in pursuit of them earlier on as well, just to give us updates when we do have red flags. It's keeping him fit as well, which clearly he's got 10 years.
What are you suggesting?
He's got 10 years on me, hasn't he? So he can be running around while I keep an eye on things from a sedentary position.
Whilst you're sat down?
Up here, from a sedentary position up here in our commentary position. The riders are back out onto the track now, Dan, so if you've caught your breath, we can get underway with a restart of race number 2.
Although already I think we're having issues for one of the Moto team riders. Was that Will Howarth who stopped up at turn number 2?
It is
Goodness
Will Howarth.
me.
So whether that's an issue that's come about as a result of being involved in that crash, I don't know, although he is now back up and running with smoke billowing from the back of the machine. So we'll see how long that lasts in the race.
It maybe just be it couldn't quite find the gear, but luckily he's managed to get back into it now. It does seem to be running as cleanly as it can be. I'll go and have a quick listen out as it goes past, so I'll let you know how that ends. But everyone else looks to be coming back to the grid cleanly. A 12-lap race taken away from 14 laps. This will now be a 12-lap race as a result of that stoppage.
Okay, well, thank you for the insight, Dan. In terms of Will Howarth, hopefully it won't end up being a terminal problem, because in terms of the Moto team category, two riders in this race who are right in the mix, Will Howarth and Darren Anderson, and it would be nice to see them go head to head. There's one rider on track separating them, that's Sam Clowes, who starts in P8, but of course he's a Pit Bike 140 rider. So he won't be too keen to get involved in their squabble either. Will Howarth all season has been getting in the mix of the Pit Bike 140 riders and getting ahead of Sam Clowes in qualifying by less than half a second. So, reprising the start, as Dan explained, the reduced number of laps when we get going once again on race number 2 of this Pit Bike 140 and Moto team race. Riders underway then with their formation lap, ahead of the second time of asking in this split grid Pit Bike 140 and Moto team category race.
And a quick update actually on Will Howarth. He's back onto the grid, back into his position, starting third, or I think fourth technically on the dummy grid.
Well, technically sixth, fourth, whatever.
I believe we got a red flag out on circuit. An incident on the grid, I'm told. We don't.
Okay. Funnily enough, the frame of the window stopped us from being able to see that, but now that we've had that information passed over to us, I can see that indeed two riders have gone down, which on the formation lap is pretty unusual indeed. So I suspect, well, I can see bike numbers, but until we've got both riders back up to their feet, I suggest that it's best for us to throw back over to Leicester to avoid any undue concern for those who can't see what we can see trackside and who are listening at home.
And we will eventually get this race underway, and when we do, we will enjoy it, I suppose. Yes, it is we are waiting for the start of the second race of the weekend for Pit Bike 140 and Moto Team. You're listening to live coverage of round 6 of the 2017 Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship.
We're now the official partner series to the BSB. This is Cool Fab Racing.
Cool Fab Racing, live from Whilton Mill. Good afternoon. It's Sunday, the 3rd of September already, and we're hurtling towards the end of the season. Great to have you with us. We're currently under a red flag conditions here at Whilton Mill during the... we're trying to get the Pit Bike 140 and Moto Team second race of the weekend underway. And we will have another full restart. When that is, we will let you know. We've not heard any official word as of yet. Incidentally, though, for the benefit of the people at the racetrack here, if you want to get direct messages from Race Control, from Roger Keys and the brilliant team at Race Control, you can download an app called Mixlr. Mixlr. That's right, Mixlr. And Roger and the other team will be distributing various messages with updates, letting you know whether we're running ahead or behind. So, for example, really useful if we're running ahead, say 30 minutes, for example, then that's the sort of thing you need to know. So download that app. It's free to download from your app store, and I have it. It's pretty good. And it's a really useful way of being able to find out exactly what's going on directly from Race Control as well, because we try and keep you up to date here from the commentary team. Not always possible. We do give you the very latest information as and when we get it, but you might like to download that app. So we are live still online for the full day. We do go off briefly offline for lunch, because that is supremely important, and then we come back on air in time for the third and final round of races, which is the AC40 Rookies, kicking off later this afternoon. Incidentally, coming up after this race, the Pit Bike 140 and Moto Team, will be the Mini GP70's second race of the day, followed by Pit Bike Open, AC40 Pro, and just before lunch, the Mini F1 sidecars. Once again, we will give you any up-to-date information if that schedule changes or if lunch is moved. So far, we've heard nothing, so let's presume that is all correct. Thank you very much once again to everyone who's tuned in live online on the Facebook streams that we have. We have a couple live simultaneously. John Ansell says, "Go Blake, Tony Perrell and Brandon Perrell." Philip Long tuned in as well, says, "Best of luck today, Rossi Banham from Nan Grandad in Spain." So that's not bad. In Spain, wow. And Peter Ansell letting us know that he thinks Brad Ray might be starting from the back of the grid, as Dan Marr went roving and confirmed as much. And that's what he will be doing. So he did qualify on pole position. Blake Ansell would have been in second position. And we are waiting for confirmation as to when the restart of this race will be getting underway. You're listening to live coverage of